prospective student asks GPT, ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, any of these LLMs, which universities have the strongest medical assisting programs, cybersecurity programs, which are the best programs in my city? These are the questions that are being asked more and more, day in and day out. And interestingly, these are the ones that are actually coming up in the search results, and students are finding out information prior to coming to the site of a school or a brand, prior to engaging. They're getting these results within seconds. And here's the scary part. A lot of institutions don't even understand when they're showing up, how they're showing up, where they're appearing or not. And so that's really a huge opportunity to take the time to kind of understand where you're showing up, how you're showing up. And that's why we have built a couple tools for this. And I'll talk a little bit about that. But more than anything, I want to dig into what are those key components that allow your school to show up. Welcome back to ROI University, podcast for higher ed marketers and leaders who want to change the game and themselves, of course. I'm Rusmi Rani, your host, a recovering engineer and former higher ed CMO, and now CEO and founder of RGI. Behind every AI-generated answer, there's things going on in the background. And what I wanted to do today was to talk a little bit about what we're seeing as those things that are happening in the background, how the AI search engines are digging into the results and deciding whether or not your school shows up or your company shows up. So really what we've boiled it down into in what we've built out, which is a dashboard or a platform, is 4 core areas. 1, visibility. Are you showing up? Do you even show up? 2, share of voice. How much are you showing up if you do show up? Citation rate, which is basically how often are you showing up? And then where in those rankings, and the sentiment. Basically, what is being said about you? Is it positive? Is it bad? Is it negative? Or is it neutral? And those are really the core components that can allow you to get a better picture on what's going on, where you're showing up, where you're not, and what's happening. Now, if you're like a lot of schools out there right now, there are definite slowdowns with, or at least decreases that we're seeing on site traffic to a lot of school websites. Part of this is, at least from our experience and our research and dozens of schools, working with dozens of schools, we've seen that the reality is a lot of students are finding out information that they would have gone to a school site in these LLMs. And so when that's the case, you have to understand how they're getting that information and really what that means. Interestingly, one of our clients, a pretty large national institution, recently, over the last, I would say, probably 6 months to a year, we've definitely seen a bit of a decline on traffic to the site and even inquiries that have filled out an RFI or a request for information form on the website. Interestingly, the lower inquiry rate is actually creating higher application numbers as well as higher enrollment numbers. So that got us to kind of pause and think, like, does this mean that the students that are coming have received the information they wanted potentially out of the site, come to the site, inquired, and have a bit more intent when they're actually filling out an application and enrolling? So if that is the case, then how can we as institutions be in front of these questions at the right moments when these questions are being answered or asked, I'm sorry. So basically, a lot of what's out there right now, and you're going to hear this with GEO, AEO, all of these different things to kind of tell you how to get out there. The reality is, it boils down to still the fundamental SEO, principles, right? The EAT principles of having expertise, authority, trust, and all of that. But a couple other components, right? Entity authority is important. You've got to have that authority in your marketplace in whatever kind of program set or degree level, or even it could be local. Structured content, your content still has to be structured in a way that Google recognizes it. And even these LLMs, although these LLMs are looking for a little different spin on that, more conversational than keyword based, like we typically would have done in the past with SEO, which still is very important. Third party mentions, are you showing up in some of the other mentions that are out there? Contextual relevance, is the content relevant to the course of study, the program, the job placement opportunities, and so on? And then at the end of the day, like, what's the depth of the content, the topical depth of the content? Those are still very, very important factors to look out for. And when you look at some of the external factors, uh, again, like I mentioned, prospective students are using a tool more than ever in their research. And we've seen this. And the tool that we use, the dashboard, is actually showing percentage of where these students are looking for these search terms, what they're searching for, and how these schools are showing up. Really, students aren't looking to pull up 15 different website tabs with different schools and programs and look at it that way. They're literally typing into an LLM and saying, hey, here are the 3 schools I'm interested in. Can you give me highlights on all 3? And based on what you know about me, which is the best option for me? Those are literally searches that we're seeing that are popping up and coming up, which is really powerful when you think about it. So those are the types of things, nuanced types questions that are coming up in these searches that students are asking, that our schools and institutions should be considering. And there are ways to show up in that. Basically, at least the tool that we've built out takes a look at where the citations are, where we're showing up, where our clients are showing up, where some of the schools are showing up, and then actually lists out relevant content snippets of why certain schools are showing up and why we're not. And then you can start to build, whether it's content, blogs, articles, maybe resources, so you can start to show up for those questions. And you can definitely see, we are seeing that there are subset of questions that are coming up more frequently than not. It is extremely important and going to continue to be more and more important to show up in those, which is really what kind of the tool does, is it looks at all of those things and shows us where we're showing up, where we're not showing up, what we need to do to show up. And again, what I mentioned is really there's the 4 core components to that, right? The visibility, are you showing up? The share of voice, how much are you showing up if you are showing up? The citation rate, which is how often and where are you showing up? Typically, you'll see when you do a results search and you get the LLM results, you'll see that list, right? Where are you showing up? And our tool actually shows all of that, of where you're showing up in that list. And then the other important thing is, like, what's being said about you. Is it positive? Is it not? Is it neutral? Is there really no input there, or feedback? The other thing that's important in this, when you think about the internal factors for students or for prospective students, are you sharing real outcome data? Are you looking at third-party validation, whether it's the corporate climate, whether it's partnerships, those sort of things. Is the messaging transparent? The LLMs are picking these things up. It's pretty amazing to start to see how it's determining some of these things and how it's picking up your consistency in your expertise statements, right? Your reputation, again, that's kind of where we built out that part that tells you from the reputation side. So all of these are really important core components. And then, as a marketer, we want to make sure we are staying on top of what is being said about our brands, what is being said about us as a brand. And then we want to make sure that story, we want to make sure the messaging, we want to make sure what our prospective students are seeing is consistent and relevant and also really on point with our brand. And we can do that. And there's a way to do that. Again, it's just a matter of understanding what is currently being said, how it's being said, where we're showing up, and what can we do to kind of get in there. What we have done, I will share a link to this. And if anybody's interested, we do have a way to do an audit where we can run a sentiment analysis or an AEO full analysis. We've done this for conferences that we've been, but if you're interested, I'll basically send me an email, send me a note, and we'll get that over to you. There's a couple things we need in order to do that, but it's really a pretty cool tool. It actually, again, what I was mentioning was if you look at it, basically would tell you all of the core search terms that are happening, where they're happening, whether it's Claude, ChatGPT, Perplexity, if you're mentioned, your share of voice, how many, like if there are 10 results, how many times are you showing up, right? 3 out of 10. What's the sentiment? Is it good, neutral, or bad? Are your competitors showing up? And then actually you'll be able to click on a link that'll even show you what's showing up, how it's showing up, and what we could do to show up on our side. So again, the LLMs are definitely impacting search. If somebody's telling you that it's just SEO and the LLMs don't have anything to do with people searching and they're not really a factor, I believe that's false. We are seeing that in the data. A lot of other people are seeing that in the data. It's just another way students are finding out information about us, our schools, and about you. So, really the schools that are going to win this AI search battle, you don't necessarily have to have the biggest budgets. You don't necessarily have to have tons of content. You just have to be able to understand where you are showing up, how you're showing up, how often you're showing up, and have a bit of a game plan. And the great thing is, you're already great at what you do. You're already differentiated in what you do. You should be able to just have a consistent plan to push that out, which will be extremely impactful. So if you're interested, reach out. I'll also put a link to it in the show notes, but keep putting effort out there, keep doing all the fundamentals as far as what differentiates you as a school, as a brand, why you're unique, all of the other things that I mentioned about transparency, about proof, about all of those things, partnerships are just so key. And if you can get a little bit better handle, if you don't have a handle on how you're showing up in the LLMs and how to get a bit more exposure, you're going to want to chip away at that. Well, that's all for this episode and class of ROI University, where the biggest ROI is personal.